Welcome everyone to this toddler discussion. We are joined today with two sisters, Garima, who lives in America, and Sony, who lives in the UK. Would you both like to introduce yourselves and just mention your kids?
Sure, I'll start. I'm Garima. I live just outside Washington, D.C. My kids are, I have a daughter who's 2.5. Her name is Shakti, and a son, Virat. He's 4.5.
Great. And Sony?
Hi, I'm Sony. I live in UK, in England. I have two boys, one 6.5. He's in Cabela School. So Pragya and I we go a little bit way back with our children because our kids are 2018, our firstborns. And my second boy, he is 2.5. So,
Great. Yeah, I have I just blanked on my kids' ages. I have a I have a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old, so kind of out of the very intense toddler stage, which feels nice. And but I have to say that even though the toddler phase has this very negative connotation to it, when we hear toddlers, we think, oh no, the terrible twos, or if the twos were bad, wait till the threes. It has a very negative light on it, which I can also understand because it's a very intense phase with the tantrums coming. But it's this phase in their life where they develop so quickly and they're trying to manage their own emotions and learn about them. They're expressing themselves for the first time properly. They're wanting independence. So all of this is going on, and they've only been on the planet for a few years. So it's this really intense period. Let's start out. Let's just hear from both of you. What would you say is the best thing about this age?
I can start. Best thing. Something which really comes to mind is at this age, they're not so verbal. So there's some communication, some not, but how expressive they are in their positive emotions. For example, just running up to you, giving you the cutest cuddle ever in the most unexpected situation. And those little pecks and kisses. And I mean, my little one who's 2.5, of course, he doesn't know how to say I love you, but he says, love you, love you. And then it just melts your heart that that's it.
Mhm.
Life to you. Uh,
Yeah.
just to give one example, we were in the collective last weekend, and it's the UK realization tour going on at the moment. So we did a puja to Shrimataji before the tour. And just every time in the puja, when it went silent, whether it was the bhajans or the silent meditation, they'll come to me and give me those mwah, mwah, like, oh, mama, yeah, it's cute.
Yeah.
And I had all these yoginis around me that they were just laughing their head off. They were like, they just couldn't control. So just, those cute little moments.
Spontaneity of love. Yeah. So sweet. And Garima, what would you say is the most magical part of this age?
Just honestly, the same thing. They're so sweet and so innocent. They're very much still under your, protection, your guidance, your wing. And so that love that they have for you and anything around them, just the simplicity of how easily, with confidence, they might approach other people or say, as much as they can, start to communicate, say things that they feel, is very sweet. And I think it's a precious time. It's hard in the day to day to
Yes.
remember, how precious and quickly this phase goes by.
Yes.
But the little moments that they start singing, a song that, you would think, how special is it that this child is singing this amazing song just out of pure, innocence in this moment, and to recognize that and pause everything else and just,
Yeah,
kind of witness that and get to experience that is really special.
totally. I remember reading a quote, and it said, long days, short years. And I think that summarizes this phase perfectly because the days just feel like, when are you going to go to bed? When
Yeah.
is the end of the day? And at the same time, yeah, the years just fly by so fast.
Yeah.
Could you just describe what does a typical day look like with your toddler? Because I think every child is different, everybody parents differently. So it would just be interesting to hear what does a day look like in your toddler world? Garima, do you want to start?
Sure, I can start. So I have, as you mentioned, Pragya, a 4-year-old and 2-year-old. So we pretty much all operate on the same routine still. So I try to most days typically wake up before them, so I have a cup of tea and can kind of get into the rhythm of the day without them. I'll come up to our meditation room and I'll sit here, and usually they start waking up around, I don't know, 6:30 or so, and then we'll have my younger one still drinks milk in the morning, so she'll have a cup of milk and we'll listen to music, and right away we will start meditation together. So we'll do a short meditation. My older one has started to lead it recently. So, and then now my younger one, 2.5, has started insisting she get a turn to lead as well. So that dynamic has started. And and then after meditation, we'll change our clothes, brush our teeth, go downstairs for breakfast, get ready for school. And my kids head off to school for 3 or 4 hours in the morning, come back. My 2-year-old still naps routinely. I wouldn't say every day, but she still naps for about an hour or so when she comes home. And my 4-year-old has sort of a quieter time then. And then I actually work from home, so we have a babysitter come and watch them in the afternoons
Hmm.
for 3 or 4 hours, and then just free play. And I'll usually go outside every afternoon around 4 p.m. to the playground for a walk. We like to spend at least an hour, sometimes longer, outside.
Mhm.
Um, then we'll come home, we'll have dinner, um, and then foot soak, bath time, bedtime. Use stories and bedtime. So
Perfect. Sounds super smooth. It sounds very
it's
nice.
not as smooth as it sounds, but we try.
Yeah, great.
Definitely variations to that schedule
Yeah,
routinely.
yeah. That's the thing. We have to remain flexible. Keep a
Yeah,
bit of a framework and a structure, but remain flexible. And
yeah.
Sony, how is it for you?
Yeah, Garima's routine sounds such dreamy,
Yeah.
realistic routine. Our situation, our family is slightly different because Francesco and I, we both work, and routine varies when our older one is back from Cabela school to when he is in Cabela school. Also, to add to the dynamic, our little one goes to nursery 2 days a week, so that those days are completely different. But when he's at home and I'm at work, then my husband does the daytime routine, like taking him to the park, lunch, keeping him entertained, bike riding, all of that. And the days when I'm working from home, then it depends how busy my day is with the work meetings. Then we keep it quiet at home. Well, we say quiet, but keep him engaged at home with activities and things he likes to do, water play and all of that. Evenings is when I get the most time with him because I'm done with my work. That's when the fun part begins. So we try to include, of course, the food, meditation. He loves doing foot soak, so I hope this habit continues forever. And he's quite an active one, and what we call him is a party baby. He does like what a normal child would sleep, like 7, 8, or 9. No way, Jose. He sleeps when we sleep,
Yeah.
uh, but he's good in catching up. So the days he doesn't go to nursery, he sleeps longer or he has a nice afternoon nap. And somehow, maybe people would think that's not the right way of parenting, but somehow, even with our older one, we never had a very set routine of everything. Certain things, yes, absolutely, food and as much as sleep. The other things have been more or less the fluid around our lives because it's very dynamic. Uh, and it has worked with our older one. He's pretty normal child and doing well. younger one is the same because he's been a different personality altogether. So yeah, so that's pretty much our routine. Something very important for our family, what we make sure we do is attending the collective meditation, the realization programs. If it comes to that, then any routine whatsoever, we don't care if it's a
Mm,
sleep or whatever.
Hmm.
We something we don't want to miss out on. Thursdays we go to public program, and we're one of the families who host it as well once a week, once a month. Saturday we have collective meditation with the yogis. Then weekends is all around kids play date with other yogi families or just going doing different activities with them.
Hmm.
So I would say in a nutshell, a very dynamic routine we have, and it keeps
Nice.
evolving.
Yeah, and it's nice that to hear different perspectives also.
yeah.
When you hear this quote, toddlers are not giving you a hard time, they're having a hard time. What are your feelings about that statement? And do you feel like that has this perspective has helped you or challenged you in your parenting?
Very interesting question. So I can draw a comparison of my two boys. If I speak about my older one, the quote you said, Pragya, is 80 to 85% or even 90% so accurate
Mm-hmm.
because he has a personality who's not whiny or cries for little things. There is a solid reason behind it. And that's been the case since he was very little to now. When I look at my second one, he's he's different in terms of he's super clear what he wants and very stubborn in what he wants and very strong in what he wants. So when it comes to that quote, then I would have to rethink and say, in his case, maybe 60% of the time that's right.
Mm-hmm.
40% is a bit more of a drama llama just to
Mm-hmm.
get the attention. So then the dynamic changes completely with how we handle his tantrum. And when it comes to that, then I think with time I've realized when is the actual need to step in, take an action, or when there is a need to be there but not take an action because it's just something he's processing. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like a cloud, it needs to pass.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's kind of the
Nice.
approach.
And Garima, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I think I've definitely seen in both my kids how their emotional outbursts that they routinely have are not because of, them being problematic children, but because they're struggling to process something internally and I'm just not recognizing it. So, for example, in the moment, I'm trying to do something or get out the door, or, I have the plan in my head of we need to do this to get this done by this time. And
Mm-hmm.
they're just not on that wavelength tracking it. They run on their own schedule. The most important things to them really should be the most important things for us at times. But just being in the moment and playing and really just playing. But, we have to adapt and they quickly have to learn that, well, we have to play within the parameters of our family operations and
Mm-hmm.
being able
Things
to
have
do
to get
more
done.
things together.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's 100%. I agree with that statement. And part of that is recognizing that I need to change my thought process in how I respond to them.
Mm.
So if they're having, it's, for my example, my son, 4 years old now, so not a toddler anymore, but routinely he will have a meltdown of some kind. And it usually has to do with the buildup of he's hungry, he's tired, he feels frustrated because other things he has not felt heard about, earlier in the day. And then it kind of reaches a tipping point. But if I have the thought that, well, this is a ridiculous overreaction to a small thing that he's doing in the moment, then it's just not effective. And I've found that taking a step back and saying, okay, what's going on, that that has worked a little bit better. But it's hard in the moment, of course, to as a parent when you're trying to do a million things and get dinner done and
Mm-hmm.
in my case, my boss is emailing me, and
Yeah.
it's a little chaotic. But
Yeah.
yeah, 100%. They're not trying to be problematic. They are learning the skills to know how to respond internally to, whatever problem they're facing. And I have learned we have to just coach them in that
Yeah.
process. Yeah.
100%. And they haven't learned impulse control a lot of the time at this age. So they'll just do something or say something or, and you're like, whoa, 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 hold on a second.
Yeah.
But I liked what you said that you have to kind of just, if you can just take that moment and just calm yourself down and try to figure out, okay, well, where is this coming from or what's going on? It just takes those 2 minutes can change the whole discussion and the whole interaction, rather than us coming with them with a storm inside of ourselves because we are reacting, that they're reacting, and then everybody's reacting. So it's nice that, you just, okay, whew, all right, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Take that. Let's get into some specifics of what could cause tantrums. Um, what, Sony, what would you say are do you have any rules about screen times for your toddler? Is he allowed to use the tablet, the TV, the iPhone? What are the boundaries that you set? What do you do if he pushes back? What are your
Yeah.
thoughts on screen time?
I think just to even take a step back, something I realized from my firstborn was there has to be a lifestyle change to begin with, because the screen time is so particular and it has become such a topic.
Mm-hmm.
I think if I think of Kian when he 6.5 years ago, it wasn't as much of a topic to what it is now somehow.
Yeah.
And what I mean by lifestyle change is what do they see us doing? So one thing between me and my husband, we've kind of decided and we stick to it most of the time is we don't bring out our phones in front of our children. So it's nowhere on the site. And sometimes there is when it's on a table or somewhere, and then that's where we're like, oh my God, and that's where the drama will begin. That's one thing, not using phones in front of them. And second, not watching TV as much in front of them. Of course, during meditation, if you want to put kids' songs, meditation songs, or mother's talk, that's different. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, when we collective, there's mother's talk on big screen and so on, that's totally fine. So that's what we try as much as we can, that they don't see us doing and then they don't ask for it. Having said that, doesn't always work that way. So with our second one, Arav, who's 2.5, there has been moments he's managed to get hold of a phone and he's crying the hell out of him that he wants me to unlock the password and give him because he's now got too much into cars. Being a boy, typical boy, cars, cars, cars. He just wants to watch something about cars, which obviously does not agree with me. I don't know if it's the right or the wrong way, but this is something I'm practicing for the last week or so, that I just do not give him phone. And his crying episode can go for longer than expected. But somehow in my heart of my heart, I feel I'm okay. He cries a bit longer, but I just don't want to give him phone because once I start doing that, they tune in. They're
Mm-hmm.
so smart. They're so witty. He knows the moment I see the phone and mommy gives me, next time I can do the same and he can repeat their own. So that's something I'm practicing. I don't know how much I will succeed, but one positive thing I see is because I don't give him phone and I don't unlock the password immediately or whatever not. So even when he sees me sometime I'm accidentally messaging somebody listening to a voice message or whatever not, he doesn't immediately comes to me because he knows now that I'm not going to just give it to him like a piece of a cake. That's one positive thing I see.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing, maybe I felt was that say if it's not the phone, but if somebody's watching something on the TV, or even if we're watching Mother's Talk, and soon after then he starts saying cars, cars, put the video of car. Then what I have started doing is have something in hand to replace it. So because this is a very sort of non-verbal, bit of a confusing stage when it comes to communication. So then what I do is I quickly prepare an activity or an interactive book or something, like he loves playing with water. So water or sand, or have some pots and pans ready in the sink because he loves scrubbing and washing. that I have a replacement to give to him immediately. I turn off the TV to say, we've done with meditation, we do namaskar, raise kundalini, and let's play with the water. Let's wash the dishes.
Hmm.
Sometimes it works. Sometimes there's huge drama llama. So yeah, I mean, that's what I'm practicing and trying, and
Yeah.
works along.
I remember when my little one was maybe, I don't know, 2.5, 3, and it's not that they watched a lot of TV, maybe 20 minutes in the whole week, 30 minutes maximum is really very little. But he had such a hard time when it would be turned off, even though you give the, I'm turning it off in 5 minutes, I'm turning it off in 2 minutes, I'm turning it, you give the warning that it's coming, it would still be a massive thing. And I just ended up taking it away, just out of the attention. We just don't watch TV. I mean, now they're older, we do a little bit more, but at that age, it's like, okay, this is just too hard for you right now, so we're just gonna not have that 20 minutes in the week. Um, and also setting those very clear boundaries. They also wanted to watch the children's meditation, and but then it became a thing that that's all meditation was just to watch the cartoons. I was like, whoa, 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 hold on, now it's back setting the boundaries. Okay, so we're just gonna watch it on Tuesdays and Fridays. So then they know that and they expect it and they don't ask anything outside of that. So I thought that was quite helpful for us to either just remove it because they just can't handle it right now, or really set those clear boundaries. Garima, do you have anything to add on this topic?
Yeah, I think maybe mine is sort of a hybrid approach that seemed to work well for us is I also have never given a phone or tablet to our kids because it was just a decision my husband and I made. We would like our kids to spend as much time as possible outside, as much time, because kids, if you put them outside, they'll just dig in the dirt and they'll pick all the flowers and they love watering and the plants and gardening. So anytime we felt inclined, like, oh, I just need a break, consciously would always think, okay, let's go outside. But so we don't give them phones or tablets. Say the one exception is flying on an airplane. I will
Mm-hmm.
do anything. I will give you anything you
All rules
want.
go out the window.
All rules out the window. Even road trips, it was an intentional decision we made not to give them uh, tablets because you see it very common, especially in America. Kids are always watching movies on road trips, and I was just thinking, when we were on road trips growing up, we would
It was
just look
no
out at the
tablet.
sky and look, we would play I
Yeah,
Spy with my little eyes. And
yeah,
it was, we would have fun games in the car, and it's a whole different experience versus looking at a tablet. So that's another thing we sort of intentionally decided to avoid. But we do use TV. So I use it primarily when I'm cooking, because I struggled with the combination, especially in the phase when I had my 1 year old and 3 year old when they were 1 and 3, and the 1 year old was starting to walk around. The 3 year old was still very much kind of in the toddler phase. And I needed essentially something to keep them focused on something else that wouldn't, demand
yeah,
me intervening.
yeah,
And so the rule that we have is every day when I'm cooking, usually Monday through Thursday, um, they get to watch 2 episodes of specific shows that we have said are non-stimulating. And I would say non-stimulating versus sort of overstimulating shows, there's a clear difference in their ability to, regulate themselves after watching it versus if they watched a calmer show and, their attitude afterwards is very different. So that's the sort of boundary we hold is when mom's cooking Monday through Thursday, you can watch 2 episodes of they know what the shows are and they take turns picking.
yeah,
And so it's about 30 minutes.
yeah,
And it gives me time because I need that.
yeah,
I struggle cooking. I get stressed out by cooking anyway. So
yeah.
if I had to do that and watch them, I put that, I guess,
Perfect.
yeah,
Yeah.
option in for them to do it. And um, I would say probably the first week we instituted that process. I can't remember how long ago it was, but yeah, there was a little bit of pushback. Oh, can we watch one more?
Hmm.
Oh, but sometimes I want to watch one more. Really, after consistently doing it for more than 1 or 2 weeks, they knew. They knew we watched two and that's it.
Mhm.
But I had to hold, the boundary. And no matter how long the meltdown was afterwards, after that first week, I still had to turn it off. And now they know. 2 episodes and that's it. I don't think they understand the concept of time as much. Like if you say 30 minutes, they don't get that. They don't know. But if you say 2 episodes, they're
Yeah.
able to track. So I also
Yeah.
pick episodes based on time.
Yeah, actually, it's funny because we still use that. Now we have our drives from Cabela back home to Switzerland. And, they'll say, "Oh, how long is it?" Well, it's 4 episodes of Peppa Pig until we get home, And they're like, "Oh,
Yeah.
okay." Now we're
Yeah.
down to 3 episodes. Now it's, whatever it is. So
Yeah.
that's a really good
Yeah.
tip. So giving firm boundaries and staying consistent has been working
Yeah.
for me. I think that's really good. Would you say that applies to picky eating, with the same rules of being consistent and having those firm boundaries work with picky eaters?
You know, I took the approach since my kids were young that I would just offer the food on the table and I wouldn't necessarily give another option if they decided not to eat that. But I also didn't force them to eat it. I would say there's still some foods, few, but some foods my older son will just say, no, it's not my favorite. For example, citrus fruits. For some reason, he can't eat oranges, he can't eat kiwi, but he'll eat other fruits. So I'm fine with it. But my younger one is pretty much will also eat most things. So I feel as if the approach of just offering the food, this is what we are all eating as a family.
Mhm.
And if you don't feel like eating it, that's fine, but this is what we have,
This is what
you
it
know?
is. No, that's
Yeah.
true.
It seemed to work okay for us.
Yeah.
So maybe I think Sony might have other examples.
Yeah, our older one, Kian, he, I would say for quite some time was not even picky eater, non-eater, I would say. I just thought that he's just come out of this, ascetic life. He is on a detox diet. And
Mm.
that went on for quite some time. That was one of the biggest challenge we had with him. Uh, he only wanted something very plain, super plain rice, super plain pasta, but sometimes not even that. Maybe two portion of cucumbers or just milk. So I was like, what is this guy gonna live on? How is he gonna grow? Uh, but also I'm one of those moms I don't like to, and I don't normally stress out on things. I just take it in. I was like, I'm not gonna go see doctors, give him medicines, and this. This is all crap. It's a momentary thing. He'll grow out of it, and that's eventually what happened. So one of the trick sometimes that worked was whenever we had kids play dates. So I would say in London we are a bit lucky. We have baby boom, you can say, baby boom, and then we have lots of mummies and babies of different age group. Which is good, but also part of the challenge is we all live in different directions. So when I was on mat leave or otherwise, we would make an effort to meet. So the the style which worked was when the other kids were sitting around him who were good eaters, uh, and they will have sandwich after sandwich or something one after the other. Kian would at least look at them and manage to take few bites of his sandwich or some. So that was still comforting for
Positive peer pressure.
yeah, positive peer pressure. So that worked. And also just, I know, I mean, he loved chicken nuggets from outside. He didn't like chicken nuggets. I would make at home. So now and then, not often, we would just get it. Like something is going in his stomach. It's fine. I know it's not super healthy, but it's fine.
Mhm.
Once in a few weeks, it's okay. Uh, so yeah, I'm not sure what is the right or the wrong way. It's just the tip for any mom who has a similar child or is struggling is first of all, please do not get stressed. This is something which pass. They go through different things in different stages of life. I don't know what doctors can do about it. Certainly in our case, we didn't feel that was the right way to go for it. And secondly, just keep offering them, just keep trying. as much as collective they see like a family eating together or their friends eating together. Normally, friends thing work better than the family thing. Uh, yeah, and then you'll see they'll be totally fine unless, of course, there's something else. But and
Yeah.
then he went to Boratin. I think Boratin changed
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah, that's true. Again, positive peer pressure.
Yeah, I wanted to add that I noticed both my kids are quite strong-willed, and I noticed that when they felt they had a sense of control, essentially, or more direct access to the food, in that, you would put it on in front of them versus feeding it to them,
Mhm.
they were always a little bit more open to exploring it and touching it and even tasting the tiniest little bite of something, but they felt a little bit more like, okay, I'm independent here. I can decide if I want to try it a little bit more or not. It's not coming from mom or dad, that I have to eat it.
Mhm.
So if you're hitting a wall with that, that might be an approach to try, is just putting it in front of them and let them explore a little bit. It might get a little messy, but in the long run, it might be helpful.
Yeah, that's very good advice. And I think also with the really young ones, the 18-month, 2-year-olds, their taste buds change, isn't it?
Hmm.
So it's like sometimes they might like something and then later they won't like it. And you're like, but how is that possible? You were eating that last week. Or um, so I think yeah, I think it's just not to stress. The phase will pass. The kids will grow up fine and they'll eat everything.
Yeah.
Exposing them to different foods is a good thing. I mean, I just was very clear with my kids. I said, this is not a restaurant, so here's your food. You just take it or leave it. And if they chose to leave it, that was their choice. Then they would be hungry, but there was going to be no other option because this is
Hmm.
not like a constant service. Now it's dinner time. Eat what's it made, and if you're not happy, then well, that's the choice you're making. And also,
One,
I think helped on the topic of food with my kids, and I still do this to this day, is we talk about the what you can get from different types of foods. So, these help your eyes and these help your brain and this helps this and then it becomes less of food but actually something that can help the body, and
Hmm.
I find that that's really helpful and we've spoken about the food pyramid and there's different groups and now at 4 and 6 they can say all the food groups and they understand that food gives us energy and that's why we're eating it. So just spinning the whole thing that you have to eat your food. It's like, but why? Because it's good for our body and it's giving us energy and it has nutrients and that's what we're doing. So let's move to sleep because this is another big category that we often are up against with our little ones. So you both said that your little ones take a nap, or Sonia, you said I think it's not so regular. Can you just tell me, what's your method to putting the kids down for a nap if they're napping? And how do you know when to drop a nap? I think that's also a really big question because there is this transition of suddenly at the end of those toddler years that they don't maybe need the nap in the middle of the day. Um, yeah, what do you have to say about that, Garima? And how
Yeah. So my older one, my 4-year-old Virat, he really only dropped naps when he was 4. And even to this day, he will routinely just fall asleep somewhere, honestly, just playing or sitting on the couch. He might just fall asleep if he really needs a nap. But my daughter, Shakti, she um, made it quite clear much sooner that she's ready to stop taking naps. So right around the 2.5 year mark, she started skipping them. I mean, it was the signs for me were it was taking her much longer to fall asleep for nap time. And then when she did take a nap okay, we routinely fall asleep between 8 to 8:30, sometimes pushing it to 9 most nights. And if it was taking her a long time to fall asleep then it was another sign to me that, okay, she's not building up enough sleep
Yeah,
pressure really to fall asleep more easily. But then routinely, there are days she's still, she's 2 still, and she will fall asleep honestly, I will say that this might work for some people, might not, but the easiest way for me to put her to sleep now is driving somewhere right after lunch, and she falls asleep in the car
Yeah.
after. And the other way is I typically put my son and my daughter in a room, and they the curtains are closed and it's quiet time, and I might be reading them a story, but they're lying down in bed. And if they fall asleep, they fall asleep. If they don't, they don't. But at least it's standard for about 30 to 45 minutes. We have that break in the day of,
Mhm.
we call it quiet time. And it gives my son, even if he doesn't fall asleep, the opportunity to just rest,
Yeah.
read, and reset for the second part of the day. And my daughter does occasionally fall asleep,
Nice.
if the environment is conducive to it. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Nice. And what about at for nighttime? Like, how do the kids wind down to go to bed? Sony, can you walk us through your bedtime routine?
Yeah. For us, it's more like after foot soak, then our bedrooms are upstairs. So we just, as if we're going upstairs, his pajamas, they're changed. And he was more little, bath routine also helped with a bit of massage because then just calming their nerves down, foot soak, and then it kind of attuned into him that that's where it's leading to. Uh, but the little one is still a party baby. So no matter
Yeah.
what, the moment you are in the bed, you're tired, and he's like, "Yay, let's party!" And he's running around the whole bed, and like, dude, just sleep. But now it's changing. He's getting better as he's growing. So once we are upstairs in our room, lights are off, we brush our teeth, uh, and to begin with, he's with us in the bed. The little one, he likes to drink a bottle of milk, and usually with lights out, us in the bed, he on the bed with us, that does the job. And then we move him to his cot. Uh, but there are days when he is overstimulated. So then we still keep the lights off. He's running around, and in a few minutes he started doing that. And then he comes to the bed. It's more like telling him there's nothing's going to change from here. We're not going to switch on the light. Mommy's not going to engage with any play with you. We're done with book reading. We're done with all of that. So when you're tired, you'll just come into bed. And this is what normally 9 out of 10 times if he's
Hmm.
overrated. Um, so yeah, that's how we do
Yeah.
it. If it works.
And Garima, did your kids start sleeping through the night quite early on, or are they sleeping through the night? I feel like it's something that just happened, or was there something you put in place?
Mm, No, they don't sleep through the night.
Okay,
And they're 4 and 2.
fine.
So I would say, if I was to, that's my response to like the whole time, every night. They do not sleep through the night. But yeah, I would maybe 40, 50% of the time, one or the other will sleep through the night. Um, so what we do is very similar. I think I've noticed with my children, especially my son, that routine and consistency really uh, works for him in kind of signaling internally what's coming up next. So we have the same process after dinner, it's foot soak. After foot soak, it's bath. After bath, it's massage. After massage, it's books. After books, it's bedtime, lights off. And literally following that same exact rhythm over months and months, it signals in them that okay, this is coming up next, and let's do this next, and they know. And I have to do the same thing with both of them. I think when my daughter turned 1, we just started following the same routine, and both of them together bath time, both of them together foot soak, both massage at the same time. So when I'm doing massage, they're right next to each other in bed, and it's baby number one's turn, then baby number two's turn. And I mean, you have to adjust. I can't spend as much time doing massage as I would, when it was just my son. Um, and then the other thing is, when my daughter turned 2, we started a similar process to Sony where we will do books, read books together, and they'll both start off. My husband and I take turns. So whether it's me, they'll both start off sitting next to us in our bed reading books. So it's like snuggle time. and we usually read two or three books and then fall asleep in my bed, our bed, and then my son knows that I will always move him to his bed, which is also in our room. So we have two different beds for our kids in our room as well. And so he's like, okay, mom, when you move me to, my bed, then be sure to, do this. So he's tracking that and we'll move him to his bed. And my daughter will move her as well to her bed when she's asleep. So I never took the approach, I haven't yet, of having them fall asleep independently. I enjoy the snuggles at the end of the day, and I look forward to that bedtime. Sometimes the things they say, when lights are off, the things my son will share about his day, or even Shakti has started sharing too. It's just to me precious time. So no matter how exhausted I am, I look forward to that time. And I think taking naps out of the day has also helped with them falling asleep a little bit faster. So you're not sitting there for an hour waiting for them to fall asleep.
Mhm. Yeah, for them to sleep
um,
30 minutes.
Yeah, but I would say, this process is different than how we were putting them to bed 6 months ago. Six
Mhm.
months ago, it was very much that I was putting Virat to bed in his bed and then I would leave. But then we had to readjust because now it's like both the kids want to do the same thing and I can't, all three of us fit in a twin size bed. So I feel
Yeah.
like every 6 months or so, I've had to adjust the way that we approach bedtime, and none of them have been necessarily right or wrong. It's just what's worked in the moment. And I've always thought, okay, when Shakti turns 3, um, we'll probably reassess. Like they have their own room with beds in a separate room, and we do nap time there, but
Mm.
we're not quite there as a family yet of shifting them to independent bedtime in the room
Yeah.
across the hall. But I know other families and close friends who do it that way, and it works really well. So
Mhm.
yeah,
And I think that's the thing. You just have to keep checking in and seeing if you
yeah,
need to readjust and, just going with the flow of what phase you're in, what age you're in, what stage of life, who's in the house, who's working late. You know what I mean?
yeah,
There has to be this flexibility in us as parents that, okay, this is what's going to happen today and not and yeah, and having a kind of again a framework of the books and the bath and the massage helps
yeah,
them to know that this is the evening now. We always ended, since the kids were very little, we were doing something called chit chat. So before they could speak, I would just speak to them at the end of the day and say, "Oh, it was nice. We went on a walk today, and you were so cute in the bath." I would just speak to them. And when they were able to start expressing themselves, we started this chit chat at night, which is where they would both share a rose and a thorn of their day. And we still do it to this day. So, what was your rose of the day? What was something nice that happened? Did you have a thorn today? Was there something challenging for you? Was there something difficult? Was there something you didn't like? And this very small moment has allowed them to be very expressive in their feelings and allow them to communicate quite well. So even now they're both in Sahaj schools. We'll be on the call and say, "What was your rose today? Did you have a thorn this week?" And it's just very natural now because we've been doing it since they were so little. So it's a nice moment, as you were saying, also just end of the day, these precious moments to just yeah catch up, see how they're doing, check in. Let's move on to, so we had a question that came in about sleep. And this yogini said that she has a 2-year-old who keeps waking up at 2 a.m. every night and wants milk. What should she do? Who wants to take that?
I can start, Sony. I think my kids, I think sometime between 1 and 2, both of them stopped drinking milk at night. I remember with my daughter, she was a little bit more persistent about needing milk during the nighttime wake ups. And what we started to do was decrease the amount of milk at night. So if we started at 8 ounces when she was a baby, then slowly bring it down to 5, then down to 3, then down to 1. And then we reached a point where if she was still waking up and wanting a bottle, um, or nursing, then we would give her a little bit of water. And I think that transition might have been over 2 weeks. And eventually she would wake up but not need anything like
Mhm.
to drink to fall asleep. But I think nighttime wake ups will still happen, of course, but there wasn't a need for milk anymore. It was just, I woke up, I need help going back to sleep kind of thing. So yeah, I think a phased approach to decreasing the amount of milk over some time helped for me.
Yeah, great. We had another question. So we're just now into the section of people sending in their questions. So, Sony, how would you, the question is, how can we inspire kids to sit still and meditate? So we know that they're active, we know that they don't want to sit, maybe they're not really meditating. How do we handle meditations with toddlers?
Yeah. Something which helped with our family was not so much imposing them to meditate, but not imposing, but having a practice to meditate as a family in front of them. It's more like setting an example for them that when either a mommy or a daddy, or mommy and daddy, if the time allows, both are sitting together and meditating. Uh, with the older one, Sahad's songs worked wonders. He used to love listening to the songs. He started singing himself quite an early on. Whether then we switch on the TV to watch or not, he would just like to sing songs during the meditation. And we've always had little instruments in the house, so he loved playing instruments while he was singing. Then, and we try to keep it concise and short, even if, I mean, I pull my ears, but even if you're watching Mother's Talk, it would be a short one, like 5, 10 minutes, not an hour long, because I think that's a bit too much of an expectation, especially at this age. And the other thing which helps with us was being collective. So husband and I, we make sure we are attending collective meditation, as I was saying in the big, we try not to miss out, and we rather be as collective as possible. Even when we invite yogis to our house, we make sure we have time for short meditation, offer flowers to Shamataji. Uh, because it's kind of like it's a vicious circle. We can't expect them to be in the collective and sit down and meditate if they haven't done that at home,
Mm-hmm.
or if they haven't practiced with you at home, because then expecting them to be in the puja, which can be 3 or 4 hours long, and not go crazy because they want to run around. So once a month is not going to help. It has to be consistent and persistent.
Mm-hmm.
So that worked. And also something is also like your devotion, like a little thing, offering perfume to Shrimataji, washing mother's feet. I think little children love washing mother's feet. It's a rare finding that they don't, or they have time when they say no, I don't want to, which is fine. I think best not to force it. But if you do it, they follow along.
Mm-hmm.
Offering flowers to Shrimataji. Our little one, there was a phase, just to give a quick example. He still does it, but less now. That every single day he would want mother's lotus feet to be brought onto a towel or an altar cloth. He would know exactly where we keep our rose water, cotton. He would take it out himself and he will start pouring himself. And he kept insisting we wash mother's feet every single day.
Sweet.
Help me put back the mother's photo. Then sometimes we'll have flowers, sometimes not. Then I'll just quickly go in our garden, get some flowers. Then he want to offer flowers. And then just in a cute way, he would raise Kundalini and just sit like that for like 3 seconds, the
Mm-hmm.
max. And for me, that's enough. For this
Mm-hmm.
age, even this is like sowing the seed.
Mm-hmm.
Then you build on it. So yeah.
Great, thank you. There was another question that came in saying, my husband's not a yogi. How do we agree on parenting strategies and raising our child? Do I keep encouraging him to sit and meditate with the children so that he can meditate as well? Do either of you have a response?
Sure. Sure, I can answer this one. My husband's not a yogi also, and so this is kind of a hybrid response to this question and the last question because I think they're very related. So in our situation, I think as a family, so between my husband and I, we established that two, even though he's not a yogi, the two sort of most important pillars of the day, like goalposts of the day. You can say for our family is morning meditation and evening meditation. And that is a priority for me as their mother. And so there is sort of an inherent understanding between me and my husband that we have to make sure to keep those consistent parts of the day. And he supports, even if he doesn't join for foot soak, for example. He's not around during morning meditation. He's already left for work, but he will help reinforce that, okay, kids, it's time to go for foot soak. And he might still be winding up the dishes downstairs, or he'll say, if we're really struggling, he'll come up and help fill the foot soak buckets if I'm struggling, for example, to do something. So I think even if, your non-yogi spouse is not necessarily joining for meditation, that foundational understanding about it being a priority is helpful. And then I would say, on the weekends, especially, my husband will come and join and sit for meditation, and it's nice for the kids to see. And so, as I wouldn't say it has to be all the time, but routinely, as your spouse is willing to join and just sit, and it might not have to be the same style of meditation you typically do. It could be something different. Maybe you could ask the kids to lead it, and or yeah, just something different, just to make your spouse feel comfortable as well. And just that routine, I guess, presence, showing support. That yeah, he joins once in a while when he's able to and he would like to, and the kids love it. And for example, my son would say, "Dad, no, this is how you raise your kundalini." Like he would correct my spouse, and so it's very sweet. And Josh would be like, "Oh, okay," and then he just tries to. So it's nice and sweet for the kids to see and feel like, "Oh, I have a authority or something I can teach my father." I think there's like a subtle recognition. Oh, Dad doesn't meditate with us. Let me show him how to meditate with us. So that's sweet.
That's really nice.
And then so I mentioned sort of just the consistency and the understanding that this is a priority and aligning with your spouse on that, but they don't have to, I think at this age when the kids are so young, it really is about following mommy and what mom's doing. And
Yeah.
so it's almost natural that, okay, we're doing what mom's doing and mom's around 80% of the time.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Great. Thank you. Next question is, what do I do when my 3-year-old keeps asking so many questions and they want a response right away? Sometimes it can go on for hours. Have either of you experienced this?
I am experiencing it right now with my 4-year-old, so we're still struggling with that. I think there's a couple tips I've told him. One is we have to take turns talking, right? So if you hear the adults, the grown-ups talking, or I'm talking to your sister, talking over someone is not going to help. I won't be able to talk to her, and I won't be able to talk to you. So I've said, tap my elbow or tap my knee. So I know you need to talk to me. Like I'm tracking you need to talk to me, but I can't respond to you right this moment. Sometimes he does it, sometimes not. And then the other tip I said is always wait for a quiet moment. So when you hear a quiet moment, that's the best time to talk. But if people are talking, there isn't a quiet moment. So, but there will be. It's coming up. Just wait for the quiet moment. But yeah, I think it's just practice and yeah, course correcting every time it happens.
Yeah, and I think it's good that, you're setting those boundaries again. You can do this if you need my attention, or you need to wait for the silent moment until you can speak. So it's clear because again, it's that impulse control, right? So they
Yeah.
just speak or they just say. So okay, that's fine. You are allowed to ask questions and speak and tell me everything that's popping in your head, but let's just put it into some boundaries here.
Yeah.
Um, what would you say, what advice would you have on spending quality time with two small children who need your attention at the same time? Sony, do you have some advice here?
Yeah, something that helps me, kind of more like an introspection for myself, and I go by my own acronym. I created in my motherhood journey, which was PFC. So it stands for patience, faith slash forgiveness, and courage. So often in a difficult time when you see, I don't know how to deal with it, they're both going crazy. What do I do? So I remind myself, I need to be patient. And I wish someone told me right at the beginning, be as much patient as you can be, because
Mhm.
there is no intent to how patient you can be. But when they both need your attention, and sometimes it can be moment. I mean, our age group is 4 years gap, so we don't have too many of those both crying at the same time because the older one understands. Uh, but if a mom is with two very little children and both crying at the same time, and you feel both has an emergency and you don't have help around, then I feel it's more like, as a mother, what you feel in your gut. Who needs you right now? It could be right, it could be wrong. But I just feel this motherly gut is so important, and we undermine those things so easily, and we have our self doubts. I think one should just get over that. If you feel it strongly, go for it. Don't worry, right, wrong. So that's one thing I feel. I don't know, because it's very situation dependent, right? Two needing you at the same time. You don't know what the situation is, but you go with your gut. And then I guess another thing is to have as much of a common theme, whether it's a play, whether it's an activity, where as a mom, you know what they enjoy, they're liking and disliking. When you're in a moment that I have like 5 hours, I'm alone with two little children. So planning ahead as much if it's possible to have a common theme, things laid out so they both are engaged at the same time. And it doesn't drive you crazy because one is outside, the other is in, one wants to ride a bike, the other wants to stay in. So yeah, I think those little hints and tips, I think, might
Yeah,
help. Yeah.
totally. And I think to not feel guilty if you are having to tend to the baby and the older one is there.
Mm.
It's not that you're ignoring the older one, it's the baby literally needs to be changed. So explaining that and communicating that with the older one, I think also helps to not just have this, yeah, this sense of guilt somehow and feel like, no, no, I have to hide my hugs with this one so the other one doesn't see. It's like you're a mom to both. They're both your kids. Yeah. And so the last question, I would say two questions. We've spoken a lot about toddlers, of course, as it's the toddler discussion, but I think we need to also just take a moment and think about self-care for us as mothers. And what would be your advice on how do we take care of ourselves? Because we always hear if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of others, and if your bucket is empty, then you can't give to the. So, what are some practical tips of what mothers can do who are going through this phase to help self-care?
I'm happy to start with that one. Number one, sleep. As much as you can, try to find ways to maximize your sleep. For me, that meant a conscious decision to delete social media apps, put my phone far away, and not be scrolling my phone as I'm falling asleep. And it's hard because you feel, well, I'm learning things, I'm learning things about parenting and parenting tricks, and I'm keeping up with the world. And um, no, it's much more important in that moment for you to get more sleep because it continuously stimulates your mind if you're looking at your phone at bedtime. And sometimes I know as a young mom, especially if you're nursing and you're up, you want something to do, and it's like sometimes the phone is not helpful. It just keeps you awake longer. Um, the other thing is alone time, just a carved out set alone time where you're just not touched by anyone, just alone to think with your own thoughts. So if that, when my kids were, a baby and 2 years old and 1 and 3, sometimes that meant, and, my husband wasn't around because he was working a lot. Sometimes that meant just like a shower, just a shower.
It's just so
But
simple.
like a long shower,
Yeah.
it was so nice. And then as I started to get older, it meant a 30-minute walk by myself, listening to music. Or in some cases, it meant that my husband is doing dinner and I get to go sit upstairs or away somewhere and just eat dinner by myself in peace and just so I think intentionally carving out time, even if it's a short amount of time, to be alone without anyone needing anything from you is really helpful. And then sleep. Sleep is probably the most important thing you could focus on for self-care at this
Right.
age.
Yeah, very good advice. Sony, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, definitely agree with what Garima has said. Sleep is definitely top of the game. The other thing I can just add to Garima's answer is, again, we are all yogini moms, yogini sisters. I think meditation is the key as well. I feel if you are in a good state, there's lots of storms and the intensity of storms you can deal with. Uh, because anything that triggers, because that's one thing I introspect now more so. What's triggering me? I take a step back and think, is it because someone said something to me? Is it because I'm so tired, so exhausted that even someone is trying to throw a petal at me, it feels like a stone? So that introspection, but that only comes when you have had a quality meditative time. And a tip for that is, and especially if you are married to a yogi or even a non-yogi, doesn't matter, working as a team. Like between me and my husband, we have an arrangement that because we love being collective, that there shouldn't be the set norm in the head that a kid has to be with mommy 100% all the time in the collective meditation. I certainly say no to that, coming from my own experience. We work as a team. If we are going for a public program, say from introduction to mother's talk, I have children, so he can sit inside, meditate nicely, especially if the kids are playing up. But now kids are getting tuned into, they know they need to go quiet when it's mother's talk or something. So first half he deals with it, second half I deal with it. That way at least both of us get to have quality time meditation, whether it's half an hour, 20 minutes or whatever. And I think that does the job. Same for the pujas. Maybe you divide like up to mother's talk or after mother's talk or silent meditation. You take the children, then I don't have to worry where they're running, what they're doing. My attention is on myself. So having that sort of arrangement with the family. But if that's not possible, then you arrange with your yogini friends, because if your friends, yogini friends, have similar age children, you could have the same dynamic. I can watch your children and my children, you go sit meditate, and vice versa. And that's just the meditation part. But also, like for me, even if I get half an hour with a friend who I can have close heart to heart conversation, that does the job. That just drops
Mm,
all the stress.
Yeah.
I could just go for a walk again, ask partner or friends, can you look after my children? And I just want quality time with someone. So just having those little arrangements, and also don't feel bad to ask for help. It's coming from a place, from a person who actually I'm very reluctant to ask people for help. But I've learned with my motherhood journey, it's okay. Everyone has their time. You will have time to pay that back when you can help them. Don't be afraid to ask for help, especially if you feel okay with those people. And I've done it and I feel okay. And we've kind of returned favors to each other and it works totally fine. So yeah, that's the tips I would.
perfect. That's really nice advice.
There's one last thing, if I might add,
Yeah,
Pragya.
of course.
Sorry.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think as moms, also we can be quite hard on ourselves and put a lot of expectations, have a lot of expectations of ourselves. And for example, maybe the day became chaotic and you're still trying to squeeze in the
All
massage
those things.
time or
Yeah,
the, yeah, and it's
yeah.
just like, no, let's be realistic. Don't put that pressure on yourself. Everyone knows the normal rhythm. If one day there's an exception and you don't do something, it's not the
Yeah.
end of the world. And I remember being hard on myself early on, and my sisters, even as recently as yesterday, I had that quality time Sony you mentioned with one of my friends here, and she's like, Karima, if it's not working out, you don't have to go, just stay home. And this was about collective meditation because I have a lot of things to do and I'm trying to squeeze in multiple plans and I'm like, oh, it's 13. I really want to go, And she's like, just stop. Just take a pause. You were
Yeah,
trying to do too much. You'll go next weekend. What's the big deal? And I'm like, okay, yes. So
yeah,
it takes that, it's
that's
helpful to
really
have that dialogue, with other
take the
sisters.
pressure off.
And yeah, take the pressure off because we put it on ourselves so often.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have to say that to Sony's point about meditation, my husband and I probably we in the last 6 years we haven't had very good meditation, to be honest. And it's only now that they're out of the house and Sahar schools we're like, oh yeah, what's that feeling again?
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe even if it's just, putting your feet in water and just allowing yourself to relax in front of Shimaji's photo, or just like raising your Kundalini at the end of the day. Like, even if you're exhausted, because we are in this phase. So even if we're exhausted, the day's been hectic and the weeks have been hectic and it goes on like that, give yourself grace, give yourself patience. God is forgiving, it knows that you're in this phase. Keep your attention. I mean, already getting the kids to meditate is a good thing. But give yourself that grace that, yeah, it's okay. It's just a phase. Everything is just a phase, and there will be a moment that you can come back to it, and you'll get those deep, long meditations that you've been wanting. So, just to wrap up, I want to ask both of you, what is something that your toddler has taught you something lately? So, about parenting, about life, about yourself. It could be big, it could be small. What's something that your toddler's taught to you?
I can go. I mean, something obviously I knew along the lines of, parenthood, motherhood, that sometimes to just laugh it out. You are in the most stressful situation ever and you don't know how to come out of it. Like how they are, they have this massive tantrum going on and you don't know how long it will go on. And the moment they forget, they're like, nothing happened.
And
Like,
you're like, oh,
perfect example. Like,
yeah.
life is throwing stress at you. You just have to sometimes laugh it out. And the best thing we do in our family is we just put on the music and we dance like nobody's watching. So I don't know if you know my husband, Francesco, he's a professional flamenco dancer. So for him, dancing comes naturally. So in our home, dancing is one big thing. And I love dancing. So we just put the music on, forget about everything. Everyone's dancing, and kids join in. So yeah, that's our way to calm down our nerves. And that's
Very,
what our kids have taught us as well.
very sweet. And Garima?
Very similar. I think the biggest lesson I've learned is that the precious moments are not in like the grand plans and the weekend getaway and the trip to this, special place for the kids. It's in the simple, everyday
Being present.
interactions. Yeah, playing with them on something they want to play with you. The dance parties, the impromptu dance parties, we do that too, and it completely resets whatever mood anyone was in. If you turn on music and you start dancing, you join them in their space. that's
Mhm.
that's the trick. That's where the magic is. And that's the biggest lesson I've learned is, like you said, Pragya, to be present with them in their world.
Mhm.
um and it's so joyful, and any issues I'm dealing with, it just vanishes if you can just be with them in their world in that moment. Yeah. So
And I would add to that that children have this quality of forgiveness and they don't hold grudges. They're not bitter. They don't wake up angry the next morning. They just are. They're just, that is what it is to be in the present. And if we can learn from that and remember that from children, we would all be so much better for it.
yeah.
But yeah, I find that that's something to add to that. And I would say also just to being now out of that toddler phase, um, I I would say my advice is write down the quotes that they say, take as many videos as you can. It's a phase, again, like we said, it's a very intense phase. We're exhausted in this phase, but there's some really special things happening also in this phase. And that's the stuff you go back to when they're out of that phase. You're like, no, remember when they used to say this, and remember when you used to say that. And I'm the mom who goes through all the old videos of when they're a baby, and you're like, oh,